preserve jealously every of his God, he will live in the richness and fertile morals of my mind and conscience as long as I live. Farewell, Prof. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
But just like that. Well, what made Pius own was so shocking and get to me was because on Friday we were together on the friends wall and I never thought that somebody somewhere that I know closely would be involved. Not to talk of the reason why I find it so unbelievable. On Friday night, Friday morning, Pius wrote something about teaching and himself talking about easing in Nigeria and in Canada. And I was like, okay. And at the end of the day, it just ended that by saying, teacher, we are go and prepare for school. So I assumed, that Pius is in Canada. So I couldn't imagine somebody in Canada and immediately now in Ethiopia within the space of Friday. And when I was like, what happened? Because, like I said, I don't feel pity. I can just feel sympathy for you. It dawned on me, it was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning that I went back to my Facebook. I said, it seems this darkness in my heart is real. I couldn't sleep. And the last time I felt so was when I lost my daughter. And I was like, what happened? Believe me, I met him. I think it was 2012, one-on-one at the Sheraton Hotel when he came to deliver a paper. He titled it Tortoise and his in-law. That was my first time of meeting him and listening to him. By the time he started, I was like, what's this man saying? But by the time he got to the middle of his message in a satirical manner, I was like, he took that tortoise and his in-law as a story that he never heard before. And it encapsulate me with where you wrap it around the politicians and the masses. And it ended up like, this is the thing. You politician, it is the money why the people are going into the market that is your own. But at the time that you are coming back, it will become that of the masses. Because the story of tortoise and his in-law is that of a greedy and unforgiving in-law who happens to be snail and turtle. And because there was a kind of an exchange of money between the in-laws and between tortoise and his in-law, that one decided to tie him down on the market day, and everybody that was going was like, what's your problem? You are too troublesome. Why did you hold your in-law and you refuse to pay back? And like that, and by the time people are coming back from the market in the evening, they still find tortoise being tied down by this in-law. And I was like, If it is not your in-law, what would you have done to him? And he opened our eyes and understanding to the fact that you can continue to endure the shenanigans of the politicians, you must. But a day is coming, is going to be your own day. And I think he has prophesied that day in 2012. I think the days are here. Because we now have photo girl in which somebody like a demigod has been demystified. In those period of Saraki dynasty, it was a case of tortoise and the human. They have a few things. I think this year the Kwara has to become the tortoise, and they are now returned to tell the in-law to say it is enough. That was the message he passed there. I've met him twice thereafter, but that message clicks to me. And after he's dead, I'm beginning to like thinking, what is this life all about? Many things I've read about him helped me to come into terms with what I posted on my social media. That should be on Wednesday last week. And I called it Pius has no destiny mate. Because when I heard about him being the only person that offered French in his secondary school day, to the extent when they were doing exam, the only invigilator for that day was only with him and nobody else, because he was the only one offering French. I'm sure there are many of his colleagues there that are lawyers, doctors. In their own field, they shine, they make money. They believe that everybody must follow that destiny, you know. They challenge you, you have not married, your mate are married. You don't have destiny mates. Pius chose his own destiny because he knew very well he has no destiny mates. And today, even in death, he is larger than life. I have seen so many things done on his behalf in Nigeria. The Lagos alone, we have done 3. In Abuja, 1. On the 23rd, we are going to do another one at Blue Roof. There is one in Kogi, in his son's home country. And I saw so many things they did in the diaspora. And I look at it, who else have died in Nigeria that have such kind of encomium and kind of, things thrown at them. And I'm just sorry to say that I look at Obasanjo because, sorry to bother you, I have no apology. That is the only man I don't want to meet in life. I've met him, he happened to be my in-law, maybe when I was. But now, why? Because I've never seen a man, I don't know how to describe him, but he's a false man. False man, so wicked, yet presented himself like a saint. He had destroyed many things, yet consider himself a favor to us in this country. Like, you don't know who I am, I'm a favor to you in this country. I mean, trying to make himself a favor in this country. I wonder if he died today, he will enjoy such kind of, words and kind of encomium that Pius enjoyed. I don't care how young or how old you die. If you cannot leave something for somebody to remember, you just die in vain. You just pass through this place like a stranger. Pius came here and he became not a stranger, but a movement instead of becoming an emolu. Because many of those pastors and pastorpreneurs and prophet liars that he condemned, that just for Pius is a movement, because after him, his words, some of the things that he has done and some of the things he has said is becoming a quote of quote, a word on the Bible. Many of those pastorpreneurs and prophet liars, you won't even remember them. Not even that which they laid on there, because the Bible will not go unfulfilled. It will not. If he said, my house shall not be called the den of robber, but house of prayer, many of those that which they pile up will become for somebody else. A fool and his money will soon be perished. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robson.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin Foshu. I'm from Kogi State, its constituency, and it's so hard for me to come here. But I always spend 2 minutes, please, or less than that. The man who said he wrote why or wask only is not like. It was 1 year my junior in science school. He was only one in the class as a French student. In the University of Lorraine, he was my junior by a year. I read political science. He was the department of modern local languages. He has colleagues as Asaju. Asaju is still in Canada. Up there, in Ottawa. Local Ottawa. I met them myself several times. We grew together, and you see, somebody talk about literatures somehow. Find somebody who the dad is head. One of Babo here. Don't go and play that ball. Take that book somewhere there. I don't, maybe any of their convicts are here. They are the cousins, all those guys. One of them love football very well, but the issue is this. This guy is independent. That is somebody who you want a nika. You just plates, put his shirt. Yes, what you call is 5 aside now. What set? Yeah, thank you, sir. Set, because I'm not so healthy. Those days, I was very asthmatic. Those days, you know, a lie. So I cannot. Neither I cannot play. You laugh. It's true. But I admire them. Most of our brothers, they play. Thank God. But at the end of the day, when we met in university, in Zion school, we were in the same hostel in University of Lorraine. Pius is somebody who is inspiring. He will tell you, Egbon, look how you. Egbon, go and read your book. Because Paul will carry his book like this. Even when you are discussing, sir, Pastor will put something beside himself and be writing. You don't know what is writing. We don't know what is writing. Possibly what you are discussing is what is writing. He is writing your discussion as to use for himself. It is that, I don't know. He came before his own age. That's the way I saw his life. And I thank God for his life. Thank God for his family. And I only pray that we have people like him who will stand up to the authorities who felt they could strangle somebody. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. My name is Tunji Lardner, and I'm really I was telling Gaga that this is a special kind of pain for all of us. A very special kind of pain. And like everybody else here, we're all here bound by shared grief and a sense of loss because of this extraordinary gentleman, young Mayaburo, perpetually Mayaburo. He came to my notice in 2006 as a young professor. I just think he was this bright kid in Ottawa, and then talk, and I think I met him at one conference, but I didn't quite connect until I think it was 2015. I was doing some work for the federal government, helping them with anti-corruption, and written some strategy paper on communications. And everyone was complaining, Mr. Lardner has come again, too much English. He was supposed to be one of the peer review people. And it was ironic that the panel had about 2 or 3 professors who were complaining that you have to tone down this thing, this. So the lunch break, and we needed to have Pius's written endorsement in a sense, because he was there as a peer reviewer of the document. We're sitting now, we're going to say, Mama down low. I just went on to a whole bunch of things I can't even want to mention about. But we spoke about life, about love, about ideas, and that's one thing we had in common. It's very difficult to talk about him because there's just been a whole outpouring of love and everybody having just a facet of who this remarkable person is. In my first tweets out of Greek, I described him as iridescent, shining, and depending on where you're looking at and from what perspective, you see one dimension of it. As each time you looked at him, every dimension was beautiful, every dimension was pure, every dimension itself was honest, every dimension itself was geared towards one thing, the liberation of us as black people in general terms, was specifically his own country, Nigeria. And it is that bounding, it's that ties that bind us, that also wound us in the way in which we feel about Nigeria. One of my favorite conversations with him, we both agreed that we were both in an abusive relationship with Nigeria. Yeah, we're bound, we love this entity, but this entity doesn't love us quite as much as we love them. And somehow we're still, they still leave this place. Even when he went to Canada, thinking there was this partial distance between himself and the object of his undying love, which is Nigeria and by extension Africa. You'll always come back. You'll always come back. And of course, he was in pursuit of Africa and Nigeria, all of those things that make us and define us as black people. And his own supreme belief that God in his infinite wisdom, and again I'm paraphrasing another famous author, Chinua Achebe, decided to make him a Nigerian. And by none, you realize that the greatest aggregation of the black people in the world are Nigerians. And you ask yourself, okay, in spite of all of this, why are we the way we are? And that was an enduring question. That was always a philosophical question, would always banter back and forth. One time he called me from Nairobi. He was there with another mutual friend of ours, Tadia, and we were talking about, Nigeria. And Tadia was reminding me I should call Tunji, because when he was a young journalist here, we had this whole philosophical framework of thinking otherwise. We believe that if you thought normally in Nigeria, they're just going to go astray, they're going to go mad. So you have to be inherently contrarian, right? You have to question everything, right? And nothing is quite like it seems. But we're just here shrouded in the smoke and mirrors of a fantasy. That is not really a fantasy because it's not real, but it's actually dystopian because it is real. We feel it every day. And so some of the conversations we had were along those lines. Then fast forward, I think it was last year or so, he was involved in an accident. And it made the rounds in social media. And next I got a call that Pius was involved in an accident. And so we started making the calls. Where is he? Where, I called his number, and there was just a faint, response. And of course, everybody panicked. Then I called again, I couldn't get through. Then somebody said he's in this hospital, we have to get him out of that hospital. So a couple of calls, I called some old friends of mine who used to work with the health ministry in said, this is where Pius is. You guys have to get him the hell out of that place. And it had nothing to do with those calls, the desperate, networking of trying to save this person. And the irony of it is that this man has come to his own country, and he needed the externalities of a network of people who cared for him, who loved him, to be able to even save his life. Pius would have died that day.
Yes, of course, yes.
Pius. Pius would have died that day. And all of this would have just been wasted. We would have had this. That's the anyway, long story short. Miracle of miracles. Someone sent an ambulance from Ibadan. They took him to UCH and they patched him up. They sent him back home. He went home. The next conversation I had after about 2 weeks, I called him for WhatsApp. He said, man, we're prepared to just wait. You know what he did? He started sending me photographs of his leg. So then why are you showing me this crispy? He said, I'm going to work on this leg. I said, look, you have to rest this leg. You have to rest this leg. So it was with shock last week Sunday when I heard that he had died. It was one of those things, and my brother here who says he doesn't grieve, I understand what you mean, right? It was as if I had lost a son, a brother, a friend. Again, the older gentleman, a mentor, just one of those figures in life that you don't realize it's not so much as important to you per se, but it's important to the world. And the world is enriched by his presence, and that there's a vacuum. If this person is removed from this space, there's a vacuum there. There are lots of us who will go unnoticed, right? If you break out and slide into the Atlantic Ocean, nobody realizes anything. But this was one man who was much more than just one man. He represented a whole body of ideas, and he represented the promise not just of his own generation, of younger generations. He essentially personified what Nigeria can ever hope to be. Young, bright, brash, arrogant, determined, abrasive, but all from a place of love and caring. So it is very difficult. I mean, as is Egbon in lots of ways. It's very. I'm still processing it. I wonder what his legacy is for the younger Nigerians. I hope people would actually listen to what this gentleman has been trying to say. There's a wall here of these really some of the more acerbic references. But each one is deep. You have to unbundle each one to actually get the meaning of what he's saying. Right? But he was a man who was in love. These are the love letters of a man in an abusive relationship with his country. And in spite of that, he refused to give up on his lover, Nigeria, as most of us have, or most of us are planning to, right? The important thing is that even when he left, and this is the person who also had the opportunity to leave, he never quite left. It kept coming back. So I think this is the lesson for all of us. Definitely prescient in the ways in which it died, but it hasn't died really. It's just that it's now a beacon for us. And I think the last gentleman, if I might, with respect, paraphrasing, Pius is not gone. Pius has just evolved into a movement. And I think that's where we should try and remember that he is a movement. And all of us, just out of respect for him, have to play a part in that movement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We want more people. Okay.
I think my advice is like use me like to I think I belong for one the generation that read or continues to read for me. Feeling that I only had maybe an opportunity, just a once in a lifetime opportunity to meet him physically. I think we should also be able to capture the fact that, in a way, the space within which the Professor Pius was examining his ideas was a space of the internationalization of the Nigerian public. Internationalization in the sense that, given the fact that the country itself is a special laboratory, if you ask me, of liberal ideas. This is the biggest space, like one of our friends will speak, where capitalism was able to experiment a lot of absurdities. But as it may, the circumstances under which he died shows essentially the fact that we are not just trapped in this corner, as well, by the curriculum of capitalism, but we are dealing with a global foe, so to speak. Boeing stands as a culprit of worldwide big business. I want to sacrifice people for profit. Of course, in that particular system, it's essentially that international system of sacrificing, of yielding people for profit. Essentially, we need to put an end. So I want us to bring that internalization or that discussion of essentially who it represents and the kind of movement is there is promoting. Thank you.
So is there any other question? Thank you very much. I'm sure we're still taking it all in. We just want to play a video of him to get more of him. We can never get enough of him. This was a speech he gave at the platform, which I still always go back to because it just shows how much love he had for this country, how much love he had for this generation, who unfortunately does not have the opportunity of his light. So please just play the video.
Oh, that was so wonderful. Congratulations again. That was so inspiring. So I want to stand on your existing protocol by thanking Pastor Boju for inviting me, the privilege of being able to come here to share a few thoughts with you. And also to share my admiration of, what I'm seeing and living. I understand you've been doing this for like a decade now, and it's grown phenomenally over the years into this kind of gathering. So it almost summarizes, in a funny way, maybe you didn't think about it, but it almost summarizes the overall theme of today's event. What next? Some 10, 12, I don't know when you started thinking about the platform. You had an idea, you had a vision, and you went ahead to apply yourself. So the moment you had your vision, you proceeded to application. So when you ask what next about Nigeria, I'm wondering if we shouldn't reproduce the template of Pastor Boju Yemade, vision and application. So I'm told I've got about 45 minutes to basically to teach you how to hate Nigeria. Or make a case for hating Nigeria. And actually when he told me I've got 25 that's when I officially became Andrew. People of older generations in this hall, you know Andrew, don't you know? Don't you remember Andrew? My Facebook and Twitter friends don't know Andrew because they were being born around the time Andrew was checking out, you know. Yeah. So I became Andrew in 1998. That's when I left this country for good, so to speak. It started out as what I thought was going to be a brief intellectual sojourn abroad. So first I left and headed out to Johannesburg in South Africa, where I was briefly a research fellow at the French Institute of South Africa. But then I moved to France, spent some time as a researcher at the Center for African Studies at the University of Bordeaux, and then moved on to Canada. I started my doctoral studies in the fall. But one thing which characterizes absence from home, whether short or long, is that deep sense of loss, that deep sense of nostalgia which you begin to feel the moment you put some distance. It was missing my folks in the literary and the academic community, which I had known in Lagos and Ibadan. So I had very concrete, and in terms of locations, it was missing first and foremost my hometown, Isolu, in Yaba East local government area of Kogi State. Any Kogi guides here? Yeah, good. So I was missing those places. It was missing Ibadan, it was missing Ilori, it was missing Lagos. So I had very, very concrete reference for what it meant to miss home. Missing Nigeria was a totally different ballgame because it was an abstraction. It had no reference, it had there were no specifics in terms of what it actually meant to miss Nigeria. I couldn't define it. It was just there. Oh, I miss Nigeria, but what does it mean? I couldn't tell. And I wouldn't be able to tell a few years down the road. I was returning home tomorrow anyway. You know, I'll just round up and go home tomorrow. But then another tomorrow and all the tomorrows were piling up. And remember, back to the kinds of email exchanges and letters I was writing back to friends in Nigeria. Finally, on what it meant and what it means to miss Nigeria. I could finally define it because of what I was telling people. Rationalized and enabled by Nigeria and our system.
Hi Waleni, this is a memorial gathering for the late Professor Pius Adesanmi.
That pothole in some way has become a crater. Hey, God, when are they going to fix it? The roadblock there, but I just couldn't pass. And now I couldn't go to tell my professor in Canada and they took light. So I started emailing friends. Look, I would write, actually, some of my, these people want their one too much, something. So that was when it became clear to me that what I was missing about Nigeria was a whole world of and culture of mediocrity and irresponsibility, which have been made legitimate by the system. Everything that folks in the developed world had come together to hate passionately about their own world and about their own world. No, it shall not be said that this is what defines Canada. It shall not be said that this is what defines the United States. It shall not be said that this is how Britain is. Everything they hate, everything they fear becoming, was what I had grown accustomed to, was what I had grown. So I was like a fish out of water for the first time functioning in a system devoid of chaos, devoid of mediocrity, and devoid of irresponsibility, and the enabling, legitimizing systems and mechanisms which we had built into it. Now, the moment that became clear on to sociology and moved on to the history of nations, the becoming of nations, the philosophy of nations, how nations are built. And I started to read the big thinkers on nation and nationalism, on patriotism and all that. And one of the thinkers that I read the most is a French philosopher called Ernest Renan. And he had written a famous treatise entitled What's a Nation? What's a Nation? And among the fundamental principles of the becoming of nations and the rise to greatness of nations that you encounter in this guy's work is the idea that a nation, it is made up of a multitude of differences, seemingly insurmountable differences, because peoples come together within a nation space to make a nation. So a nation emerges, he says, from what they have agreed to collectively remember and what they have agreed to collectively forget. What they remember, that's how you make your memories. That's how you make your collective memories. That's what they did in Dubai. Coming together to make memory, national memory out of nothing. What do we want to remember? But if you look at the forgetting side of things, if you look deeply into it, you discover that a lot of the things that nations, great nations, decide to forget about themselves are things that they overcame unbelievable differences to hate because they do not want to become that. Not that they suspend their differences, they work with their differences to develop a culture of national contempt for certain things. And that is why you think we've got differences and divisions in Nigeria. Sometimes I just laugh. All these ethnic issues, all these religious flashpoints and all that. You think they don't have those things elsewhere? They've got them. They've got them even in worse scenarios that we can ever dream of. The United States, for starters, I taught there I haven't always been in Canada. I taught in the US university system for 7 years, so I know what I'm talking about. And the culture of hatred and differences, between white and black, between right-wing Christian neocons and left-wing liberals, between it just goes on and on and on, and these are deep-seated, it's so deep that sometimes traveling in the US these days, I nearly feel like I'm in Nigeria, so that if a white cop sees me, I'm not an African American, don't shoot, I'm in Nigeria, That's how bad it is. We don't go about shooting each other in this country because, we vent. We vent our ethnic differences. We vent our, we have all kinds of pathologies and all that. But it hasn't got to the point of a policeman with, that's an Igbo man, boom. That's a Yoruba man, boom. So they've got those differences. But where they suspend the differences? I found out, living there, working there, teaching there, traveling, crisscrossing that country, and studying their sociology and being part of them, that there is nothing an American hates more than the idea of his nation, of his country, being second to any other nation. It shall not be said. They hate it with a passion. That is where the public, second to China, Kamali. So all the differences, the invidious nature of this, everything melts. Everybody have that unifying national idea of contempt for the second position. It's a passionate something that comes from deep within. It shall not be said. Don't even say it. secured the Frenchman. What they call l'œuvre de la République is built on that. The work of the Republic. On the idea that, how can you say that something is impossible when you are French? You go and check your DNA, you must be Italian. Go and check. It cannot. So don't tell the Frenchman that something is impossible for France. They hate that idea. We're in a church. They reject it in Jesus' name. They reject it. Over and above all differences. And the same thing in Canada. You see, if you look at the annual listings of the best places to live and work in the world, you'll see that Canada is in that perpetual competition with Australia. It's always oscillating between the two of them. Canadian cities, Australian cities, Calgary, Vancouver and all that. And then sometimes it moves to Scandinavia, to Norway. That thing, the idea that we are the best place to live on earth, you have no idea how much it galvanizes the Canadian. And so the fear, it's not even thinkable that we would not be. They hate it with it, but no, we've got to maintain it.
Thank you very much. And this really gets us thinking. When we say that Naija no dey carry last, now we're thinking that we have a position before the last, and that is a national belief, unfortunately. So it's very important that we start reorientating the next generation towards a belief of possibility. I always say this, that the aircraft that we see flying, the spaceship, was actually built by somebody's father going to work in the morning. His duty was to build a certain part of that aircraft. Somebody else's father's duty was to research how to make that part work or work more efficiently. What is our father's duty as Nigerians? What would our children pride themselves that we did to move the nation forward? And I think all of us sitting in this room should not despair, because history will be a bit fair on us. Like Pius, all of us are working towards ensuring that the political system works for the good of all of us, and not the few elites that have captured the system. Unfortunately, that's our work. That's where we found ourselves. I wish that my own work would be to remain an engineer trying to find something, because I mean that's an. What is more important for our own generation is that we leave a legacy of a true democracy where our own children will have a nation that works for them. Not that they will serve people desiring to extract rent from the nation. And with this few words, I want to give the.
And we suspend our differences to still in Nigeria.
I'm talking about the elites now, the ruling elites. They suspend their differences. There is no Igbo, there's no Hausa, there's no Yoruba when it comes to looting the national treasure. So there are no differences when it comes to stealing because money does not understand any of this language. You just go there and keep it. I'm going to flow from one or two things that I've learned here today because it's just every time listening to this or being in a gathering like this is for me a refreshing moment. At the Ganifa Omi Park yesterday when we had an event like this, but we later had a candlelight procession, I made a comparison and I don't like to make it, but I will still do the same today. Two people died last week. A person died and somebody died. Please speak all these things carefully. Two people died. A person and somebody. A person died 9th of March in Ibadan. Why somebody died March 10th, the next day. One happens to be an honorable. Why the other person is not even an honorable. But there was nothing honorable that was said about the honorable. One was nicknamed Sugar, but there was nothing sweet about the person. Why the other person does not even have any nickname. But today, everywhere in the world is being celebrated. Unfortunately, they are going to suspend their differences because they are already somewhere. And the dash you have between the date of birth and the date of death for every man, either wise, foolish, intelligent, unintelligent, smart, unsmart, mighty, low, strong, weak, is the same dimension. We would not for the fact that Professor Pius Adesanmi, we so much love him, and at the end of the day, we are going to write 1964 or 1974 2019. And we will not for the fact that we hate the other person because of the bitterness he has caused, permit me to use that word, make his own dash very short. But it is also something we all must understand. And it is that for every man, one day people will stand in a gathering like this and they will give a summary of your life. Everything about Pius Adesanmi was just discussed in how many minutes? When the citation was being read by Mr. Shio, it was just very brief. And this was stories of tears, of struggle, of sleepless nights. Everything was just summarized in 15 minutes. For some of us who have sworn to be part of the struggle, who are drawing wisdom from things like this. The first thing I like about Pius Adesanmi, and I'm going to stand on, he was here. I was seated here. And that was the first time I met him physically. I've always met him online. And I've met his writings and all of that. And that thing is, there's this mastery of communication. He has this, he speaks well. And speaking this time around, I'm not talking about English language.
Content.
Yes, I'm talking about communication. When you communicate, this is somebody that anybody, you can pick up his writing, anybody can pick it and you will understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Pius Adesanmi is not the krinkum crankum kind of person. Anybody can pick. He's not an Igiaga person. Anybody can pick. It and understand it because he is flowing from the mind of that average Nigerian. He's speaking the mind, he's not Igiaga anybody. And this is something I personally have learned from. He has lived. No matter the wailings, the crimes, and all of that, the crying rather, he has lived. And like somebody said yesterday, that he has taught us to be a citizen. Professor Pius Adesanmi, in Nigeria today, we are yet to have this sense of belonging. You know, someone mentioned that we are in an abusive relationship with Nigeria. You love Nigeria, but Nigeria does not love you. At the end of the day, it's like a rape. When a rape victim, it has become serial, you understand? Then you will like your rapist. That is just Nigeria. For us. And so, flowing from all of this, all was to drop. I was watching the Sahara Reporters Education Cafe when that was played. The video that was played before this, and I saw this lady who was my senior. In that video, she was sitting here that day. She's now in the US. So when she's now in the US. Despite my clout on social media, I'm quoting him somehow. That despite my clout on social media, I thought announcing a program like this, people will, in fact, I won't be able to, this place won't prop. Definitely. So it is just, we can sit here and start discussing everything this man talked about, because it's going to turn out to be an academic paper if we see it, start talking about it. But the most important thing, and I'm going to end it that way, was what I said yesterday, that it's going to be something embarrassing that when we die, that you invite people we talk about to come and talk about what we used to talk about. A case of the other man who was in Abuja, who said he was honoring Professor Pius Adesanmi. It would be better for people to talk about those things we talk about than to go and invite those people we used to talk about to come and talk about what we used to talk about. For us, he has lived, and it is also a lesson for every one of us to live and not just exist. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I want to start by first and foremost not necessarily disagreeing with Femi, but reiterating at this auspicious moment an encounter I had with a friend on WhatsApp. He's one of my diasporic friends, and this happened about 4 days ago. He said Professor Pius died a tragic death, so also Sugar did. The guy, I'm about a boy, and this my friend is from about two. Said, but their biographies are completely different. While history is very kind to the former, it comes harsh and hard on the latter immediately after their tragic passing. So, and I responded very spontaneously. I said, it is travesty, abomination, sacrilegious. Sugar and Pius should not be mentioned in the same sentence. Never. I went further. And I said, and Alpha Sugar was wrongly nicknamed. Short on getting here, the place was, scanty. I felt so pain, I felt so bad. I was here just as one of the listeners, not key speakers. Or review. But the two individuals during the interactive section, I called them activists, and they both telepathically disagreed with me. That no, they are not activists, rather they are advocates. And that is where I'm going to start my whole tribute from. Professor Pius was a fine the man already is immortalized. Maybe because I was there a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't know what was responsible for it, but a thought just said to me, you know one of the victims. You know, it was on Sunday. Yeah. I didn't know why I didn't go to church that day. I didn't know. But instantly, I rebuked that thought. That what an evil imagination, God forbid, that would not be my portion. Exactly. So, plane crash or accident. But the fact that the headline would read Professor Walejo Yinka and murder. And that's what just played out in the case of Professor Pius now. There are professors and there are professors. As far as it is Lagos, any gathering that has to do with celebrating or grievously celebrating Professor Pius, I would always be there. But I met him 4 good times. He was that man. As a matter of fact, I'm happy again because I thought he was much younger, and when I later realized he was 47, I thought maybe he was not even up to 45. Though that 47 too, we've been saying it's a tragedy. In Yoruba speaking, is Okwofo. But we just thank God. The consolation we have, the atom of consolation is the fact that he lived a good life. And whether or not you like it, the man's record is credential, regardless of how you look at it, no matter how fastidious you are, the man's credential was unblemished. There were people that are more gifted than him that, merchandised that gift. It was not there. It was not hide and seek. He was not saying in the morning and another thing in the afternoon. He did not hobnob with the powers that be, even though he had the privilege. And I think that was the reason why he was so bold enough among all the public intellectuals to identify openly with Showore. There were many intellectuals who are Showore. Best friend, but never identified with his ambition, but not Professor Pius. So he's a friend of the house. Power supply, subscription, and all those things. Sometimes you want to write. Sometimes you want to say those things because of Pius. I was talking about but you don't have either subscription, you're managing your or even your actually is even flatter. And way, I cannot but celebrate him. I'm happy that now I can now talk without crying. You know, I can still remember that very day I met him at Platform 2015. Do you know that Platform now, even if you don't have possible? So again, on a final note, like I said in my own short intervention, that God will comfort Mama, and thank God that his children and wife, thank God that they are not Nigerians, because that would have been worst, whether or not to like it. Before you know it, somebody somewhere will sit on the entitlements. We now start another agitation again on social media. That will not happen to his nuclear family. So God will comfort Mama, and I will pardon me if you don't speak Yoruba. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll be rounding up now. Does anybody still have any other tributes? Please.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, like what I have to say is very short. And when I heard about the death of Professor Pius, that was the first time that someone like me will get to know him and know him through his death. And when someone dies, is what people say about that person that we want you to. I'll give you the interest to go and read about his personality when he was on earth. And I made my research, watched some of his videos online, and I see the way he constructs his speech, sentences, mixing Yoruba with Igbo, his big pidgin, and the audience are always carried away. Anytime he's out speaking to people, because his contents are filled with a lot of senses, and it touched me that for someone of this personality to leave this head, to leave us now is not really a good thing. But really, there's nothing we can do about that, because he's gone, and it is when we get to heaven that we are really going to witness that we can have the opportunity to meet him again. But one thing I want to say to us is that we are alive, we should learn from Professor Pius, his life history, his lifestyle, his way of life, how he has been advocating for the masses, even without vying for any post. And someone even said today that if he had contested when he was alive, that if he did contested or vie for the post of chancellor, then he will never win. Because someone of his caliber, has never attained any political post to the house, and the system changed him instead of him to change the system, So, but if right now is to come back to life and contest for one of the senators, someone that portray that true integrity really exists, really existed in Nigeria. But it's really a good thing that I get to know him, and I've actually learned a lot from him. And after his death, I had to talk to myself that look, before I pass out from this head, I have to touch life through my writings, through my speech, my attitude, my way of life. And I want us to also go that way, so that at least when we leave this earth, people can talk good about us. Like when Sugar, when he died,
things I was hearing about the man really pissed me off. Some people were cursing him. They have not met him before, but because of the bad news that they heard about sugar, they started cursing him. Because he has a very dirty history. When he was alive, I begin to hear the number of people he killed and kidnapped. He even snatched the wife of Bale, of different backstories. And this really pissed me off. So people were even saying that they are 100% sure that we'll be born in fire now. That is the assurance on it because of his bad attitude. And another part, some people said that are living in his constituency in Ibadan, that this guy really worked. That he may be a tout, he may be a killer, that he worked. But how will you understand? His bad aspect has covered that good aspect. So you understand? So what I will say to us is that any moment, anything we are doing, we should always be watchful. We should have a record. We should have in our mind that there's record for everything we are doing, whether in the hidden or in the open. The moment you pass away, they are going to open the book right from earth here. They will start reading your book before the angels in heaven will now start reading for you to give final judgment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. In the absence of any other intervention, tribute, I will say that we should just rise up and we'll observe a minute silence for the departed. Then we'll leave. May the soul of the departed rest in peace.
Amen.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm Miss Winnie. Give him your favorite video.